Give me 5 minutes of your time and I'll share something about life, God, and the Bible. God has just confronted King David through the prophet Nathan. Uh, Nathan speaks out against David about his adultery with Bathsheba and his conspiracy to murder her husband Uriah by sending him to the battlefront. David writes Psalm 51 in confession of his sins. Psalm 51, 3-5. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Against you, you only have I sinned, and done what is evil in your sight. So you are right in your verdict and justified when you judge. Surely I was sinful at birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me. In 2 Samuel 12, God sends the prophet Nathan to confront David. Nathan starts by telling the parable of a rich man and a poor man. The rich man had many sheep. The poor man had only one precious lamb whom he loved. However, the rich man stole the precious lamb of the poor man and cooked it for his guest. David was angry and told Nathan that this rich man should be punished. Nathan further tells David that he is the rich man of the parable. 2 Samuel 12, 9-10. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing what is evil in his eyes? You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and took his wife to be your own. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you despised me and took the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your own. Chuck Colson is a lawyer who worked in the White House in the early 1970s. However, he committed some crimes when he worked in the White House. It was known as the Watergate scandal. In 1974, he was sentenced to spend some time in prison. However, in 1973, a friend gave him a copy of Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. It made a profound impact on him. He gave his life to Christ. Colson knew he had to serve his prison sentence in 1974. He says that this was his greatest defeat, but he knew that God was looking after him and his family. He soon started prison fellowship, which ministers to people in prison even today. This is what Chuck Colson says. The greatest paradox of my life is that every time I walk into a prison and see the faces of men or women who have been transformed by the power of the living God, I realize that the thing that God has chosen to use in my life is none of the successes, achievements, degrees, awards, honors, or cases I won before the Supreme Court. That's not what God's using in my life. What God is using in my life to touch the lives of literally thousands of other people is the fact that I was a convict and went to prison. This was my greatest defeat. The only thing in my life I didn't succeed in. Like King David, Charles Colson is a very powerful man. Yet despite the height of his status and wealth, he felt empty inside. Then a friend of his gave him a copy of Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. It changed his life. He gave his life to Christ. In becoming a Christian, he realized that he should own up to the crimes he committed while he served in the White House. Therefore, he went to prison. Out of his experience in prison, he decided to start Prison Fellowship, a ministry which shares the good news of Jesus with those imprisoned. After Nathan confronts David about his adultery with Bathsheba and his murder of Uriah, David proceeds to compose a song to confess his sins before God. This song later becomes Psalm 51. Psalm 51 has helped many Christians through the centuries in the confessions of their sins before God. Amen.